So in the last AX8 basics tutorial, we looked at XY switching and scenes and setting up two different amplifiers for a clean sound and a dirty sound. The unavoidable consequence of the hardware in the AX8 is that there is a very small audio gap when you're doing that. If you want to avoid that and you want to treat this more as like a multi-channel amplifier, we can use something called a scene controller to change the input gain of our amplifier. Let's have a look at how we would do that. So in this case, we are going to use the Friedman BE to get a mild clean to crunch, a dirty sound, and then a full-on saturated lead sound using scene 1, 2, and 3. So in order to do that, I'm going to set up scene 1, 2, and 3 so that there's nothing else but the amplifier and the cabinet. So I'll go through it and I'll turn all of those off and I'll save them, as you can see here. So I know I'm changing the last preset that we made, but it's just to demonstrate this one fact. So we'll stick with scene 1, 2, and 3. What we're going to do is we will click on the amp, we'll click on the input drive, and under source we will go all the way down to scene 1. So now that we've selected that, we're going to go over to the controllers section and go all the way down to scene. And you can see here we've got controller 1 and controller 2. Since we selected scene controller number 1, we're going to enter our values along here, and basically we set the percentage to be the input drive for each scene. So for example, let's start with 5% for scene 1 and have a listen to what that sounds. That's a little bit too clean. We'll just turn that up until it gets a little bit more vibey. Quite a nice one there, about 15%. And as you can hear, when I hit the strings hard, it starts to break up, and when I play soft, that's not really a clean sound, but for playing live, that's got that touch of grit that is going to be really handy. So let's go over to scene number 2. Now, the way I had the preset set up before, I had the input drive at 50%. Halfway is what it sounds like when I set it to 50% on the scene control. That sounds pretty good. For scene 3, I want way more gain. Let's turn that up to like 90%. And you can hear now that going from scene to scene, there is no audio gap. And that is how we would gain stage our presets using scene controllers. If I still wanted to have in the one preset another amplifier in the Y state, for example scene 4 and 5, I still want it to be my bassman, but I wanted different degrees of gain with the bassman, I could set relevant values on there. So let's try that. If I go to scene 4 now, that's going to be the bassman with the input drive at 20%. 5 is going to have the bassman with the input gain at 60%. I'll turn that drive block off so we can hear the difference. Which is very handy if you're playing live and you need a do-it-all kind of preset. You can use AX8 and have that gain stage with scene controllers for 3 or 4 different sounds, and then have another amp and have another set of well gain stage sounds. So it's basically like having two separate 3 or 4 channel amplifiers at your disposal in one preset, and that way you don't have to switch from amp to amp and get the audio gap. You might play one song, for example in this case with the Friedman, and use scene controllers to change the gain for different parts of the song, and then the next song, before the song starts, change over to the Y state and play the whole song with the bassman, but again change the gain with the scene controllers.